you'll learn some stuff from that one. Go back and check that one out. But before you go back and check that one out, you got to watch this one. So thanks for being a part of the show tonight. Moderation, you got Sean Nafsker and Paragringo. They're taking care of the chat like mad people. And so I do want to say thank you for all those who have been a part of the show. You guys are awesome. If you see somebody in the chat that has a wrench next to their name, they've done something special, or they have done some standout stuff to be a part of the moderation team. So just real quick, want to mention a couple sponsors that keep the show going and support the show. One of those is PPG Smoke. PPGsmoke.com is the website. They sell all kinds of stuff. It's not just for paramotoring. It is mostly paramotoring stuff, but they sell chase cams. Thank you, son.
I put Nutella and honey in it.
What a nice young man you are. But I don't want to eat that now and spoil my dinner when your mom gets home. Okay, so kick rocks, kid.
Your dessert.
Thanks. Actually, high five. That was pretty cool. Thank you. Just me and him tonight. So, PPG Smoke. Also, I want to mention Paramotor Props. Paramotorprops.com is the website. If you go check out their website, you can find all different kinds of props. But also, there's a contact place on the website in case you're thinking maybe you want to switch it up a little bit. You want to get some, maybe you want to go tri-prop or something like that. You're questioning the sizes and the quality or whatever. Reach out to the guys at paramotorprops.com. Also want to mention our local sponsor here in Southern California, American Allied Drains and Plumbing. If you're in the San Diego area and you're in need of plumbing, American Allied Drains and Plumbing is your company. If you mention Paragliding Talk, you will get 10% off of their services. Their phone number is 844-777-9055. Son, I can't have you interrupting the commercials.
Sorry.
That is the future of the show, okay?
Okay. All
right.
Are you on YouTube?
Okay, you're already on YouTube now. Okay. Cris Cote, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I'm super stoked to have you. Every time we get to hang out, I always get just a ton of information from you over the years. Even when I was a brand new chap to the sport, you weren't afraid to give up the goods. And so it took me some time to get you on the show, but you finally succumbed to my persistence. So thank you for coming on once again. I know you're on just a wild mission and a ride. You're just going all over the place and flying all over the place and competitions and just enjoying life. If you don't know, this Cris he did a life sentence in the United States Navy and served our country. So thank you again for your service. I really appreciate that. We have a lot of guys that watch the show that are military and or previous military. So I just want to say that first. I want to fire off the show, and I'm just going to let everybody know up front. I'm really fascinated with competition flying, and we're talking free flying, obviously. I want to just kind of dig into this. We've never done a show like this where we just talked about competition flying, but you've got a pretty good handle on it now, and I feel like I could get straight answers from Cris Cote about competition flying. So I want to fire it off. The first question is what I really like to know. Talk about getting into, oh man, you know what? I didn't even tell anyone. Cris has like all the San Diego, Southern California records, or a lot of them. And
I used to have them, but I think Connor and Ryan and some other folks are really bringing their game up. And
yeah,
since I've been focusing on the competitions, I hadn't focused on the XCs quite so much. And I think a few of them have fallen, which is great.
You just have to come home and send it again. Sorry, say that again.
Oh, I was
come back to San Diego.
Some of the records have fallen.
Yeah. No, you said something after that, and I stepped on you. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, I love to see that. I like to see the new guys come in. I like to see records being broken. I like to see, progression.
Yeah, that one flight where you went way out in the middle of the desert, that just tiger country, just to send it as far as you could send it. That's so cool.
Yeah,
you could have played it safe and be like, you know what, I'm gonna land early, go get a ice cream. Right. You're like, no, I'm gonna make it hard. You're gonna have to go farther than this. Yeah, so they did have some really good records last. But anyways, Cris Cote is an incredible pilot. He's been doing this for a while, and so he's got some great background. Want to know what it's like flying comps. Talk about the feelings the day of, and just just take us through some of the stuff that you've experienced in competition flying.
Sure. First of all, competition flying is basically advanced training, and like a week of competition flying is probably equivalent to maybe a year's worth of experience or something. Maybe like 300 hours of flying by yourself, because you just
Really?
have so many more data points, so many more pilots in the air, so much more to look at and to see how much potential the day did have, or you can see where you may have fallen short, but others still made it. So it helps fill in all that stuff that you can't see with the air, and it really just gives you a lot more data that way.
Wow, I never thought of that. Yeah, because there's so many
Mhm.
gliders, and they're
So many
all looking for the
gliders.
same thing.
Right. And when we're on glide and there's like 50 or 100 of you, you can see who's going up, who's going down. And then as we approach a thermal, you get to see exactly what the thermal looks like, because it's kind of like that Twister movie where they put all the things up in the tornado and then they can see everything. It's the same deal. We have enough
Yeah.
data points that you really get to fill in your mental picture what the air mass is doing in such a way that you
Wow.
can't by yourself.
Wow. Never thought of that. That's incredible. Okay.
Yeah.
I could
So
end the show right here and I'd be happy.
it's
That's
really
awesome.
good training in that regard. If you're never done a comp, then you really should work on thermaling, work on instruments, and work on like SoCal XC League, NorCal XC League, any low level stuff that you can do to hone and refine your craft before you go to a comp. And if you haven't gone to comps, then start with a low level one. So in the US, there's the Wood Rat, the Applegate Open. They have a lower level, like a super clinic that they used to do there. They still do it, and that is a real good first one to go to. You get to see the comp go on, but then you also get to fly, get training, you get to watch everything happen, and that's a good getting your feet wet. And then you can step up the sprint the next year, and then maybe when you're good enough, you can step up to the open, which is kind of how comps are structured, the lower level ones.
When you show up to the comp, do you get the butterflies? You're nervous. You're like, man, this is big deal. Talk a little bit about the day one. Like, what are you feeling? What's it like? You're getting your gear out. You're waiting for people. Are they yelling at you like, okay, you're
Yeah.
up next. Get out there. What? How does it go down?
Yeah, each comp is its own deal, because there's each organization runs it their own way, and obviously people have different personalities, so you get whoever you have. In the U.S., Matty Senior is doing a lot of comps up in Chelan, and I think he's doing the best job that I can tell in the U.S. He's really running good comps. They're safe, and definitely putting the pilots first. So I really like what he's doing up there. Yeah, early on in your comps, there's going to be butterflies. There's going to be all that nervousness that you would expect in a competition. Even if you say you're just going there for fun or even whatever, it's probably going to be a site you've never flown. You've probably never flown that close to people. You've probably never used your instrument in the detail that you're going to be using it at a comp. So there's a lot of new stuff going on. You're going to be nervous. The best thing you can do for the nervousness, though, is just to be as proficient as you can be practiced up, have your gear dialed, and just be as just bring as much as you can of yourself uh, in as good a shape as you can. You know, hone all your little parts, and you're gonna find your weaknesses in the comp, and write those down and work on them. When you go to a competition, you want to introduce yourself, say hi to as many people as you can. You want to find friends. You want to have people to hang out with. You don't want to be isolated over on the side, um, because really this game is so much about talking and getting critiques, right? You want to get those little knowledge nuggets from the people you can, but then you go have your flight, and then if you can debrief with someone later on, that's worth gold, man. And then for them to see the mistakes you're making and to actually be willing to tell you and help you progress, that's what you want to be doing. And it can be hard to get that kind of information, but if you're bringing a nice upbeat attitude, if you're willing to buy the guy a beer, if you're willing to, you know, put out that first hand, that they'll grab your hand and they'll help you out once they see you're struggling or once they see you're sincere. If you're the standoffish kind and you want to have like a kind of standoffish vibe, then the guys that are there are going to stand off from you as well. So come in with arms wide open and be humble, be ooh,
Almost got him.
ah.
That's only half price. $5. Half price. So close.
Well, remember we upped the ante on that.
I got a bite.
We had upped the ante on that.
He got
off the hook.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I pumped the brakes. So you got to come in humble, man. You're nothing. You are absolutely nothing. You in paragliding, the way it works is you're a big fish in a small pond in your local community. You can be the baddest. I almost did it again.
Yeah.
You can be the baddest guy in your area, but when you get on the world stage, you're just a little guy, man. And that's the attitude you need to bring your whole way through your career. When you start thinking that you know some stuff, that's like the first step to you getting messed up, really, because now you're going to get complacent. Now you're going to start assuming, and now you're going to start, putting more weight on your decisions. You're just going to blow your head up in such a way that your ego is going to get big, and then you're not really learning at that point. You're already thinking that you know, and when you think you know, you're just not going to learn, right? So be humble. Don't ever stop being humble.
That's really good information too, because this sport will humble you. You might think, oh, I got this. It'll find you.
Yeah, there's just no room for that here in the sport. It's a sport that changes every day. The weather changes, the sight changes, you change your wing, you bring a little different mental game. I mean, it's just all so many variables, and it'll constantly challenge you. And if you want to be really good, then it requires, supreme focus, and you have to be able to assess yourself really well, because no one really knows how good or bad of a pilot you are, whether you're scared or calm up there, or whether you had some close calls, but no one knows. You only know all that stuff. You're the only one who knows if you got drunk last night. You're the only one who knows all this stuff. So you really have to keep your finger on that pulse and take care of yourself, know where your weaknesses are, work on your weaknesses, don't avoid them. If kiting's your thing that you suck at, then you need to go kite until you have it down, or if thermaling is what you're not good at, or if weather's not what you're not good at, or just if you suck at choosing launch cycles, or whatever it is, find your weaknesses, work on them, be humble.
That's a really good one.
No one's good. No one really knows the sport. I'll tell you that right now. We're still learning. The only ones that can do this stuff are the birds, right? We're just pretending to be a bird.
Yeah.
And it's just endless the amount of knowledge endless the amount of learning that you can put into it. Yeah. And you figure out one piece and you get a little better. You found out, and these things, they get better, but then you take off like a year and you're going to lose, 20, 30% of whatever you had is just going to go away. You're going to take a confidence hit. So it's perishable skills. You have to keep the knife sharp. And if you are going to operate at these high levels in the sport, do not think that you can just half time it. This sport requires full attention if you want to do it safely, especially in the beginning, your first few years, 4, 5, 6 years, until you are past intermediate syndrome and until you are a well-rounded pilot in all the skill areas. You just don't have it yet.
This question just popped in my head. How many hours do you think somebody should have under wing before they enter a comp?
The low level comps, I would say as soon as you're proficient at launching, landing, okay at thermaling, you want to be able to fly next to other people. So you want to have a comfort level there. You're going to need to be able to make your own decisions XC wise. So I would suggest having my feet wet in all those areas pretty well, and then just come to a low level comp and be humble and just be very cautious. Really set your safety margins big, and just come there with just the intention of learning and having fun, and try and have those two goals. Do not care about the results. And in all honesty, you should not care about the results until you're really good. And then in a comp, it's like 7 days of flying. So I would advise, so let's say you flew the first day. I'd say you should look at the scores and make sure your score got submitted. Make sure it looks like what it should be. Like if I finished behind Brad Ganuscio today and I'm 10 seconds behind him, then my score should be just a little bit less than Brad Ganuscio's. So just make sure that happens every day for maybe the first 3 or 4 days. And then you can start really diving in and paying attention to the cumulative a little bit more. It doesn't matter in the beginning. And by looking at those things, you're just distracting yourself. You're just blowing your head up. If you do well, then you're like, oh God, I'm great, and then the next day you're going to be
Humbled.
Not the same, basically.
Yeah.
So when we look at the scores, just a little bit in the beginning, a little bit more in the middle, and by no means do you let it change your flying style to the end. At the end of the comp, you can start maybe trying to do something a little different when you figure out who your real competition is. At the end, you want to see who's close to you. You want to see what's capable, what position you can probably get, and like who to mark as your competition, basically, so that you can make sure that you do as well as them that last day.
Yeah.
So that you can stay high in the rankings.
That is really good advice.
Yeah.
Just find somebody that's close to you, because that's ultimately that. If you're chasing after, that lead guy and you're back in 45th place, you're just gonna be disappointed.
If Brad Ganuscio was in the chat, what question would he ask you?
What would he ask me?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea. You'd have to ask Brad that.
We just had him
Yeah,
on
I
the
have
show.
no idea what
I
Brad
thought you would
asked
say
me.
something like, how does the backside look, or I don't know.
Oh, shit.
He's a razzer, I'm sure.
I love Brad.
So my next question was going to be about decision making. So how do competitions affect your decision making? Over the years, I've always heard, little things being said here and there about how it will change you and make you either fly more aggressive and make bad decisions, or sometimes it's just, you look at the Eagle. The dude is untouchable, and time again, he's winning the Red Bull X Alps. Sometimes I'm watching it, I'm like, dude, that is risky. He is taking big time risks. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So risk is a big piece of this sport, and the thicker your safety margins are, the less well you are going to do when it comes to the numbers. When you're starting to count kilometers, or when you're starting to look at rankings and stuff like that. So what I'm saying there is, you can be more risky and you can get an immediate response in your scores and how much farther you fly, because it just means that you're going to go in places lower, you're going to fly in more wind, you're going to keep going when you shouldn't. All of these things will get you farther down the course line and show results, but you're doing it at the cost of being more risky. So that's the thing to keep in mind with the sport is, the thing you always hear is like, oh man, look at Joe Blow over there. He's only been in the sport 3 years and he flew 200 kilometer. Well, that doesn't mean he's a good pilot. And in fact, it's impossible to be a good pilot until you have amassed enough experience. Before you have amassed experience, you're just lying to yourself. You're effing delusional. To say it the most clear-cut way, you are delusional about
We'll allow
what's
it.
going on and your own abilities. And you need to wake up, because the sooner you wake up, the sooner you're not going to F yourself up.
Right. Yeah.
So so that's kind of how the risk deal works. And most people I see in comps, it happens kind of two ways. One, they come to a comp, they have their first comp, and they're the guy that's going to be conservative, and they wind up not liking comps, because comps are going to make you fly places you normally wouldn't fly, and comps reward risk so much that so many people do it. And you just start looking at like, well, I'm never going to win this unless I do all that risky stuff. So these kind of people will stay conservative, and they won't like comps, so they probably won't keep doing them. Next kind of person you have is the kind of person that's willing to be really risky, and is willing to shave those margins to do better. And it works, man. It absolutely works. You can shave those margins down pretty freaking thin, and you're gonna do better. It's just the way it works, because it's just, you're gonna be pushing harder, you know. Yeah, so the second kind of person is the one that's willing to take the risk to do better, and they're just going to be on a progression of being riskier and riskier and riskier and riskier until they figure it out and stop, or until they have an incident, or until, you know, something changes their mind, whatever that may be. Yeah, so that's one kind, two kinds. And then the third kind would be the person that's been in comps and is like an older pilot. He's past intermediate syndrome, and he just wants to have fun and fly with his friends. And that guy is your safest pilot. He's going to have a really accurate assessment of what's going on. He doesn't really care about the results so much. He just really just wants to have fun and be safe. And that's how his flying style will go. Yeah, so that's kind of the three kinds of people, and that's just all individual for the person where they're going to fall in on that. For me, I was risky. And as I went, I was the guy that pushed harder, made the margins thinner, and that helped. And then
Do you
yeah.
think Southern California made you into the pilot that you are? Would you say that some of the risks that you're taking is because you've been able to you've been forced into corners before?
I'd say that San Diego definitely helped me get better, and the way it does that is you just get a lot of hours. You, through repetition, you're just going to get better, whereas a lot of other areas in the country don't have as long of a flying season as we do.
Right.
And the other thing with San Diego weather is it's pretty benign as far as paragliding weather goes. We are largely high pressure dominant, and we don't get gust fronts very often. We don't get OD very often, except for the convergence line.
Yeah.
Our most dangerous weather is our windier stuff, the higher pressure days, and then when it's Santa Ana. So San Diego is a really, really good spot if you want to get a lot of hours and get really good. You're going to get good at thermaling in San Diego. The thermals are real narrow there. So you learn how to get the glider up on a tip and stay in the tighter course. You learn how to track thermals really well. You should be a really good thermal pilot after San Diego. So yeah, I think San Diego was really instrumental in that regard. As far as like other pieces that helped me was like, one was emotional control. Until you can calm down and not be fight or flight mode, you really can't learn, because you're just too wrapped up in being safe or too concerned about every little noise or shimmy the wing makes. You know, you just out of your comfort zone so far that you are not operating in a good frame of mind, and you're not learning. You're just responding more than learning. When you get calm and you can start looking around more, you're going to take in more information. You're going to remember more of your flight. You're just going to be in a better place for learning. So emotional control was a big one for me. I'm definitely a calmer type person in that regard.
Do you ever
Yeah.
see guys kind of the head of the pack making risky decisions, and they just drag a like a magnet, drag a bunch of other pilots into their bad decisions?
For sure, for sure.
I imagine that.
Yeah, so the way comp flying goes is today it's highly dominated by gaggle flying, where if you don't stay with the gaggle and you get separated, you are not going to stay up with everyone. You're going to get left behind, because even a small group of really good pilots are going to do better than one awesome pilot by himself, just by virtue of they're going to be able to use all that extra information from the other people that are with them to choose better lines, to core the thermal better. It's just a deal. You just have more data points to get more information, so you will make better decisions, even if they aren't flying optimized. Like, I'm a mountain pilot and I like to follow the mountains, right?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes we'll just fly right down the middle of the valley and we'll find thermals. It's not the route anyone would choose logically, but you can make it work when you have 50 amazing pilots, because we're going to find thermal, we're going to get up, we're going to go push on, we're going to find the next one, and it's just going to keep working. So that's the way that the comps really are today. Is it's all about gaggle centric flying. And yeah, they make mistakes happen when you're so focused on follow, and you get penalized so highly if you don't follow, then you're just going to follow. And if the guy that's leading does make a mistake, you're just going to go in there with him. And that's just and you're not gonna hey, sorry, my cat's meowing. But
that's
yeah,
okay. Will Fly donated $5 to the super chat. He said Resurgence PPG rocks. Robert, Anthony, Sean, and Chris are pretty cool too. Thanks, Will Fly. Appreciate your contribution to the show. Thank you for that. Let's spin the wheel and give Cris Cote a break. You see smoke coming out of his ears. We're gonna give something away. I think I should give away I think the very last retractable keychain.
So no more names in the wheel.
No more names.
Done.
Yep.
I'm cutting off the names.
Cutting them off.
Cut them off.
I'm going to mention a couple sponsors real quick. One of those sponsors is Nebraska PPG, Josh Bowden. He runs a school in Nebraska. And if you're interested in getting some top-notch training, you can sign up with Josh and his team today. There's a link in the description if you want to get a hold of them. Also, the show is brought to you by maxacro.com. That's Max Acro. Max Marion has a SIV clinic that he does on a schedule, and he's got some really cool adventure SIV stuff going on. So if you want to sign up with him, you go to his website, maxacro.com, and just go search around. It's a really nice website. Pretty amazing. And then I want to mention Calamity Kite Clinic. Go ahead and spin the wheel, Sean. Calamity Kite Clinic is they're dedicated literally just to teaching people how to kite their wing. And I say it's actually Sean's organization. I don't know if he has more than one person, but right now, if you want to go and check out what's going on with that and you want to sign up and maybe get some lessons, CalamityKiteClinic.com. And you could just ask Sean in the chat right now if you have a question for him. Oh, yeah.
That greased it really good too.
That was pretty cool last week at the Ganuscio giving away stuff. It's cool when it's nice when the guests give away stuff.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I actually do want one of those SIV clinic hats that he has. Oh, dude, that's going to be right on the line with Bob.
I know.
That's Bob.
I don't know.
It's going to be
slowing down now.
Really close.
Fabric Flyer.
Fabric.
Congratulations.
Flyer. Congratulations, Fabric Flyer. If you will please reach out to me through the website, paraglidingtalk.com. Go to the website, put in /contact and then fill out the contact form and then say, I won something on the show. And we'll send something over immediately. Sometimes it takes forever, but I got a new system for sending stuff out, so it makes it way faster. Yes. Yeah, by the way, I really appreciate everybody that's been supporting the show. I couldn't believe it. I was writing this down and I'm like, this is episode 224. We've had 224 episodes of Paragliding Talk. Insane. All kinds of great information. So since you guys, especially moderators and just everybody who shows up every week, I just love it. Super cool. I know we're not like the coolest high flyers out there, but you know what? We show up every week just to hang out. So whatever. So thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us every time. Let's talk a little bit about gear. Oh, I had a question. This is, and there's a couple in the chat. We will get to your questions in the chat. What happens if somebody goes under reserve in the competition? You just leave them? This is not a loaded question. I'm serious. Like, if I'm in a competition, I paid a bunch of money. I'm like, I'm in the lead, and the guy next to me gets wrapped up and has to throw, and I'm like, too bad for you, bro. I'm not going in that one. And do you just keep going? What do you do? Report it and roll on?
If you see someone going down under reserve, you should report it. Just to get the word out that someone's going down into reserve, and then you want to watch them and see what happens. You want to obviously be flying yourself, but be cognizant of what's happening to them. Be cognizant of who it is. And then basically you want to make sure that they're okay. And you want to make sure that the word gets passed on to the organization so that everyone knows what's going on. If you can, you want to, and it looks like they, didn't get the reserve out or landed hard. Another thing that you should do is if you wreck, if you have the ability and you're not jacked up, gather up your wing, ball it up. If you see a wing that's spread out, that is basically an indication that the pilot's really messed up and wasn't able to gather his wing. So it's more life-threatening when you see that. So just as a rule of thumb, if you land somewhere, rosette your wing so that other pilots in the area know that you're not hurt. Yeah, if you are able to land near the person to render aid, then great. Don't force a landing and you become the second person that needs help.
Right.
But in every comp that I've ever been in, when these things happen, whoever lands to help out the pilot, the race will provide them points for the day.
Oh, no
So
kidding.
they won't get a 0. So they're incentivizing us to help each other, which is what you
Yeah.
want to do anyways.
Right.
But the other side of that coin is these more aggressive type pilots that are more results based. They might not be so willing to wait around, or might not be so willing to render that aid. So just that's one thing you want to keep in mind when you're doing these comps, is it could be you down there.
Right.
And what would you like? And in that moment, just pull yourself back and say, hey, look, it's just a comp. That guy could be dying. And then act appropriately, make the right decision. That if you can help, you should try and help. Yeah, that's pretty much what goes on. And then the organization will organize the rescue. Either they're going to get a helicopter come in, or they're going to activate whatever they have in place to go help that pilot out. That's basically what goes on. And
I
other
have a
stuff you
question.
can do from the air is, you can get like a lat long of where they're at, the location, and you can report that. If you know that they went down on a certain west side of El Cap or whatever, then you say that as well. Basically, just get all the information you can to the organization. That's about it.
Well, how do
I
you
got a
pull
good
a
question.
lat long while you're in the air?
Yeah, so for me, I can go to Google Maps and then just drop a pin, and it'll immediately tell me the
Sure.
lat long. you can copy and paste that or send a screenshot. That's the one that I would use.
Dude, that's a really good idea. We should have a little app that will just literally instantaneously give you lat long wherever you're at. I bet you that's out there. I bet you someone's made that already.
As long as you had reception.
Yeah,
If you just
said
hold your
Google
finger down
Maps
on
will do
Google
it.
Maps so it drops a pin, it'll show
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just thinking like a more instantaneous, like I hooked it up that my weather station, you have an iPhone, right? My weather station is on an app. So it's just a quick, literally this fast, like LCAP, boom. And now I'm dialed in. Look,
Come here.
there's no wind at LCAP.
Yeah,
And
but
this
is it showing your
doesn't show
latitude
where I'm
and
from.
longitude, or-
No. No. But I'm just thinking maybe we need to talk to some of the geeks that can make that happen. I just want a quick app to open and boop.
I got
That
a
long.
good question. I want to ask before
Yeah.
I forget. Okay, for people that have never been in a competition or have seen anything like it, in your eyes or through your eyes, through your viewpoint, in your experiences, what constitutes a safe competition? Like, what is a safe competition like compared to an unsafe competition? You know?
Yeah. So a safe comp, first of all, would have weather conditions that are good for flying. That means, we just want to be flying in safer conditions. I've been in competitions that were really inclement weather, like low cloud base, and so cloud base is low, and the terrain pushes up into them, and you're just playing around down here on these spines just below cloud base in a really not nice place. And then I've also flown in comps where the conditions were really stable and the thermals were real tight, and you have 100 people fighting for scraps of lift just to stay aloft. Those two are dangerous in my opinion. Some sites are more dangerous than other ones. Flatland flying is safer than mountain flying. There's just it's just nicer conditions, and the decision making is easier, and the air is not as turbulent, more landing options, stuff like that. So flatland's better. That's pretty much it. And then there's the other stuff's just all so highly variable that you're just going to get what you get.
Two rapid fire
Certain
questions.
organizers will have safer comps than other ones. Organizers that do
Oh.
a lot of comps, like the PWC, when they do a comp, it's almost the same people that are officiating it go to each one. And then you do have the locals that are running stuff, but just because they've done it so many times, you're going to get a good fluid like flow path for the comp instead of being irky jerky or something's
Unrealistic.
going on. They don't make the call soon enough. One thing that's dangerous with the comps is the weather will be marginal. They'll have us go fly a task, but then in the middle of the task, it gets really windy or it
Dust
starts
front.
ODing somewhere. And at that point, it's the individual pilot should make the call and go land if it's not safe, but we're all aggressive, pushing real hard, and we're just not going to do it. That's just the fact of it. So in that scenario, you need the organizers to make the call to either stop it or whatever they want to do. But they need to be cognizant of what's going on and make that call. And I find that is one of the biggest ones that doesn't get done real well, because these guys are only doing one comp a year, two comps a year, and they just don't have the experience or the trained people to make that scenario flow right.
Two questions from the chat. One, this is from Mad Sloper. He said, can pilots make a living off the winnings of comps, or is it just self-accomplishments?
There is very little making living off of paragliding
That's what I
in the
figured.
US. I think if you're European, you can make a little bit of a living. If you're a paragliding professional, an instructor, something like that, you can make a living off it. But competitions, there's no money in them, man. It's all bragging rights and just going and flying.
Trophies.
Trophies and just, yeah. And there's actually a purity of the sport because of that.
Yeah.
People aren't doing it for the money, so you get just passion-based people,
Yep.
and that's a totally different feel. It isn't sold out. You don't get professionals that are like training all the time, have sponsors, and are unbeatable. It's just a little bit nicer thing. Not to say
It's
that
like
it
the
won't go that way
journey.
someday.
Right. That's what I really love about the sport. Like I could just go on YouTube, create a little platform and talk about it, and I wasn't, you know, this is so new. Everything is so fresh, and like there's not answers for everything. You can't just Google it and know the answer. There's some books out there, but you got to dig. The gold nuggets are deep in the mountain still. Walter Priori donated $5 to the super chat. Thank you, kind sir. So the other question, Nick Griffith asked, what is the furthest XC that you have done?
Oh, maybe 250 or 260 kilometers.
And was that here?
Yeah.
You know, this is America, and we say miles.
You do enough comps and you convert over to the European stuff, believe me. Yeah, like almost all the comps are meters per second, meters altitude, kilometers for speed.
I gotta learn that stuff. It's so frustrating when these guys will yell out stuff. Even there's a couple guys that'll do it here, and I always correct them. America. Say miles and feet. What's wrong with you? So you did seriously? That's a legit question. Was that a learning curve, or were you already doing kilometers?
Calculating.
Oh no, I was all just American imperial numbers, but
and then you just change your instruments.
You just get tired of it. Yeah, well, I like meters per second for lift. That's pretty easy. So I went to that pretty early on, and then I moved to kilometers, and then the last one I did was altitude in meters. And it's just you just do it.
You're doing meters now? Gosh, that's a serious addiction.
It really throws off like a lot of the stuff you've already kind of thought about and like kind of, okay, I know what this means, and now you have a whole new set of numbers to look at, and so you have to relearn that.
Yep, that's funny.
Different things,
Talk a little bit about your gear. So what radio are you using?
I like the Yaesu radios.
Yaesu, okay.
I think I have a FT270.
FT270.
I like the Baofeng radios as well. They're really lightweight and cheap, and they actually work really well. But if you were to go down an emergency situation and it was rainy or anything kind of crazy, or you took a hard landing, that Baofeng might not be operational. Yeah. Whereas at Yaesu, you could probably throw it off a bridge and you're probably good.
Yeah.
So
a little heavy, but it's still good.
So that's the deal there. You can go either way you want, but for your own safety, that Yaesu is probably your move.
Tracker?
Yeah. Not the Spot, but the other one, the Garmin InReach.
And you're doing mini?
And I like the mini. Yep.
Okay.
It Bluetooth to the phone, so you can do all the stuff in the phone. You don't need a big screen on it with buttons, because it's just you do it on your phone basically.
Yep. And is that
anybody who still has a Spot tracker should move over to the InReach or whatever other device, because I remember my Spot tracker it's not as good. You can't do the communication as well. It's not really two-way communication, whereas the InReach is two-way, and it's just more. It's better. Get it. You'll be safer. It's what you want if you go down.
Yeah, that's what I have. Any special account that you had to get for comps compared to what you're normally doing, or you just keep the same?
The only thing they want you to do extra is there's like a sporting license you have to get through the FAI, which is like $30 a year, I think. And that's just required at some comps, but I think they're going to all comps. They're going to want you to have that.
Interesting.
But that's pretty much it. In the US, they want you to be USHPA qualified. They want to see your license for that.
And they actually check it when you show up to the comp.
Yeah, when you check into a comp, they're going to want to see insurance. They're going to want to see maybe a COVID vaccination nowadays.
Because that'll stop it from catching.
I think that's the two big ones. Yeah, COVID's really thrown a wrench into it.
I was going to ask that of Brad when he was on the show, and he didn't really say anything. too much about it.
Yeah,
He was just glad it's flying again.
right. Yeah, me too. I've flown for the last year, year and a half in comps while COVID was going on, traveled internationally. And it's just whatever's going on in the country and the way they want to enforce it. And same thing with the comp, whoever the organizer is and however they want to enforce it. And I've seen it where it's like mandatory masks everywhere, COVID testing prior to. And then I've seen it totally relaxed where we didn't do anything. It just depends.
Depends who's in charge.
Depends who's in charge. Yeah, and the country. Sometimes
Yep.
the country itself will impose stuff. I remember when I was going down to Worlds in Argentina, their country was closed to all visitors. And then, so we had to get all this paperwork to get down there. And then like a week after we got there, then they opened it up to everyone else. So we had to do all this stuff to go to Worlds, and it was crazy. It was
Yeah, I remember that.
a lot.
Brutal.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your wing, your choice wing, and I know you have a wing for sale.
Yeah. Well, let me go a little more on my gear stuff. So
Yeah.
I gave you guys the tracker I use.
Yeah. Oh,
What you
yeah.
wanna
I want
use
to know
for
about. There you go.
Instruments is I really like XC Track, and you can run that on your phone or a pad or whatever you want. And then you want just like a Bluetooth Vario to give it lift data and sync data. And you
What
can,
is it
I
called?
think XC Track. I think that's the Android based program. It's really
Okay.
good. A
XC
lot of
Track.
people, you can fly comps with it. It has all the information, all the data fields that you need, and it's free. Free.
Wow. Oh, that's
All
the
you need
app.
is a Bluetooth Vario coupled with it, which will be a couple $100, but then you're good to go. And I don't know how like the instrument manufacturers stay in business when there's apps like that out there. Like it's just, I don't get it. But
Well, once you get enough people on your program, you can throw very little subtle advertisements on there. It's about user base,
gotcha.
and there's a lot of stuff you can do once you got people on your app. For sure, it's the way to go. Unless you had to put a bunch of money up front. But anyways, so
Yeah, so that's my
variometer.
instrument. And then the
Mhm.
harness I like most is the XR7 from Woody Valley.
Yeah, I'm a Woody Valley fan too.
Yeah, that one's really
XR7.
nice.
Okay.
But that's a comp harness.
Yeah.
And then the wings I like the two liners, specifically the ozone stuff. So the Xeno, I haven't flown the Xeno 2 yet, but it looks really good.
That'll probably be
Um,
your go-to wing when you come home.
I have a nice Xeno. I'll stick with that for now. I just
Yeah,
don't
well-
have the coin.
Yeah. Jeez. It
Yeah.
was like 6,200.
Yeah, I'll just wait a couple years and get a used one or something. Or,
Yeah.
if you wait around, the wing will come to you.
Dude, you are just literally following right in Potter's footsteps. I started to I got this revelation one day. I'm like, dude, this aviation, I'm gonna pay the big money up front and then sell the wing at half-life so I can fly the better half of the wing. But it required some discipline in the beginning. And so that's been I'm gonna try that for a little while.
Solid move.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea. I got that from Chris Souther. So favorite harness is the XR7, and your wing of choice for comps is that the Enzo
Yep.
3?
The Enzo 3. Yep, from Ozone.
And I see a lot of people flying Ozone and are successful. What's the next wing that you would go to if you're like, you know what, I don't have Enzo 3 right now. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I would do the Boom 12. It seems to be a really good wing. I haven't flown it, but I like what it's doing. So I'd be interested in trying that one.
Sorry, what was it again?
The Boomerang 12 from Jim.
Oh, the Boom 12.
Yeah.
Bro, the Boom 12. It's got that serrated front now.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're in the weight range, but Ryan has one right now.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your what do you oh, I wanted that's another question I had. Wing loading. Are
Yeah.
you doing anything special for competition flying?
Um,
Just fly right at the top.
yeah, you want to be up there at the top, you know, 3 or 4 kilos within the top, somewhere up there. You can dial it a little bit for conditions, but yeah, you want to be pretty well loaded.
So you'll bring some ballast and be able to dump it if you need to.
Yes, it's nice to be able to dump a little bit of ballast, like 3 kilos or so. 4 kilos is a nice amount to give you a little help if you need it. If the conditions get light, um, it is nice to dump. But I'll tell you, I've flown a lot without being able to drop ballast, and I've been able to stay alive in some pretty light conditions. So it's not an absolute must
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And once you do that, once you are able to survive fully loaded, then that's a confidence inspiring thing. And then
Yeah.
it really helps out to know you can do that. But then when you do get to be able to drop some, you get to see that extra little bit you get. And that is critical, but only in maybe 1 out of 20 flights or something, something like that. But yeah, you do want to be loaded in this. I like to fly at the same loading. I think that's really important because the way that the wing interacts, it just throws all your timing off and all your feel off, basically, if you're not at the same loading. Because let's say you're 5 kilos under where you normally fly. Now, when you enter a thermal, it's going to seem stronger and you're going to want to turn before the core. And then just all your turn dynamics are going to change. So you have to relearn all the timing of your turns. And it basically puts you out of your comfort zone. And if you can do it, but it just requires a little bit of a reset. So
Yeah.
I recommend flying basically the same weight all the time. Whatever that be, whatever you settle in on, just try and stick with that and don't change it unless you have to.
And that's what you were saying. Like you need to have all this stuff dialed before you just sign up for a
Oh, yeah.
competition. You're not just going to throw
Oh, yeah.
yourself at it and then try to figure it out in the middle of it.
Right.
Be really confident on your glider.
Right. Yeah. In paragliding, you want to do everything you can on the ground. Like you want to be so dialed that all you have to do in the air is, breathe, eat, pee, drink, and fly. Keep your hands on the toggles. If you're taking your hands off the toggles for stuff during your flight, each time you do that is something you want to try and get rid of. You just want to be dialed as much as you can. You just don't have the bandwidth in the air to be doing stuff. And as soon as you put your head down, you lose all your situational awareness of what's going on around you. So
yeah, and you got gliders right in your business.
Yeah, and this is a game about situational awareness and observation. And if your head's down, you just don't have it any longer. So
quick, a glider flies into your glider. You're tangled up. What do you do? Right now.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to probably throw your reserve.
Okay, and
I would see if
everybody.
I could get untangled, but if not, then it's reserve, and you're both going to go down. And probably the sooner you throw, the better. In most of those situations. And then upon landing, it's going to be disabling the reserve, so you're not getting drug in high winds or whatever.
How do you disable it? I mean, it's just yanking you. There's no choice.
Yeah, you can just hook knife the whole thing off, or you can hook knife the center line, and that'll kind of flag out the reserve.
Gotta have a hook knife.
One of those two. Yeah, gotta have a hook knife. Don't fly with that one.
Gotta have a hook knife.
Yeah.
I just want to catch you off guard with that question because that's how it happens.
And then you go kick the person's ass when you get to the ground. You go like,
you gotta go find.
What the?
If it was your fault, then you get your butt kicked.
Yeah, you get out of your harness and run away.
Yeah, go hide.
Let them cool off.
Yeah, that's funny. I want to mention just a couple sponsors. We're almost out of time, but iFly Indiana Powered Paragliding. They're one of the first sponsors of the show, by the way. But if you're interested in flying paramotors, there's no better place to get proper training than iFlyIndiana.com. Kevin and his team will get your feet off the ground. Also, this show is brought to you by Lone Star Paramotor. If you're in the Lone Star state of Texas, you can reach out to Ron Turan and his team for world-class training. LoneStarParamotor.com, and you can find him on social media too. If you have questions for him, reach out to him. Great organization, great training. Check them out. Also, the show is brought to you by Resurgence PPG. If you're interested in supporting our men and women of uniform, you can make a tax-deductible donation to resurgencepppg.com. By donating, you're sponsoring those who put their lives on the line for your freedom. You can reach out to Todd Scandrip at resurgencepppg.com. Just a great organization and super cool what they do over there at Resurgence. How much time are you spending on weather before you're going to a competition? Are you watching weeks and weeks? Are you kind of just waiting for the few weeks before because it doesn't really matter that much? It's going to change. What's your thought pattern on that? And
before we
you go
jump
to?
into that, I just do want to plug my Enzo 3 for sale
Oh,
before
yes,
we
please.
get much farther.
That was the
And I
payment.
realize that probably a lot of your listeners don't want it, don't need it, shouldn't be on it type deal. But if
Brad?
you know somebody who might want to be on it, let me know. I
Yeah.
have a small Enzo 3 with 40 hours, really good condition.
Small is 85 all up?
No, 105 top.
Wait, what? Small?
Yeah.
105 is the top.
Yeah, the small Enzo, and then there's two sizes below that. There's an extra small and a double XS.
What the heck?
Yeah,
Small. Like I'm flying medium small and I'm 95 all up.
Right.
my
Yeah.
Alpina.
The small goes to 105 in the Enzo.
Wow.
The medium small Xeno goes to 100. So that's the two wings I fly. I fly that medium small Xeno and a small Enzo.
Interesting.
And there's no, like, as far as performance, the small Enzo is really good. And that's one of the things with comps. You tend to ballast a little more so you can fly a little bigger wing. So if you have that ability, because you will get a little performance gain by doing that. But in your beginning of your flying, I would not even be concerned with the wing performance so much and that whole deal. You want to fly a wing that's more appropriate to yourself so that you don't have to carry ballast and you don't have to launch with ballast, land with ballast, because the ballast game sucks.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into that willingly. You want to that's got to be a thing where, like, once you're already crushing hard and this is like the extra 1%, you know?
Yep. It's rare that you even talk to people. When I got in the sport, there was a bunch of people charging. So there was a whole group of people talking about, I'm ballasting up, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I thought that was just the game. I did it for just a little while in the beginning. And then I got to the place where I'm like, I'm not messing with that. I don't care.
Right.
Fly Blossom.
So weather.
Yeah.
If a guy was to do it right, he would definitely be looking at weather a couple weeks out. You'd be pulling up all the track logs from the previous competitions to see where people fly and just trying to wrap your head around what the routes would look like. You're going to want to orientate yourself to the terrain and see where north, south, east, and west are at so that you can predict like sun angles throughout the day and know what faces to go and fly. So the weather hole and like the preparation hole are pretty deep rabbit holes. You can go in there pretty far on these things. And there's a lot of areas of the sport you can just go really far into, to the point that you're not getting returns on the investment you're putting in. So just be aware of that. You can do as much or as little as you want. For me, I did quite a lot in the beginning, but then you just get to a point where you don't need to do the in-depth stuff so much. And then for weather, I got to a very small amount of weather. I would do just a small study before the day to see what it would hold as far as wind direction and maybe velocity and like altitude, but not super in depth, because the organization is going to do that. The organization has people that are going to go in depth. They have to do that to make sure the day is going to be safe. And the race committee, the guys that set the course, they need to know all that to set the course. So the local guys that fly that place, The local weather gurus are gonna crunch the numbers and give you a good indication of what's gonna go on, safe or not, and that kind of stuff. And then the fact of the matter is it's not you versus the day with competitions. It's you versus the other pilots. So you all get the same weather is the
Yep.
deal. So you can't just dive deeper and deeper into it and think it's going to help beyond a certain point. So it's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing is the other pilots and just doing better than them. And as long as you're gaggle flying, you're staying with them, then they're not going to leave you. You're not going to get left. And then it just matters just being safe, you know? So
Incredible.
I don't
Cris,
dig in.
dude, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're at that 1 hour mark. That hour went super fast. Once again, both times you've been on the show, just incredible wealth of knowledge. We're going to go to the after show. I'd love it if you can hang out for just a couple more minutes for a couple people to log on that are in the chat. I'm just going to, I'll put the information out there. If you want to support the show on Patreon or PayPal, you can do that. Follow the links in the description. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, I'd be very appreciative. And thank you also, AZ Shooty, for donating $20 to the super chat and sharing that very personal story. And thank you so much for everybody who's been supporting the show over the years. So we're going to go to the after show. Stay tuned for just a second. If you're in the chat, I'm going to put a link to the after show so you can jump on using the Zoom passcode and all that. And we will have a great show next week too. So thanks for watching. If I don't see you on the air,